So we're almost halfway through 2025, and if you're a student, you've probably written a couple of tests and assignments in the first quarter of the year, and you might have performed bad for some of them or not as good as you wanted to. Well, in this video, I'll be sharing 8 tips with you that you can start applying today to move from being an average student to a top performing student. And if you apply all the tips that I'm going to share in this video, your friends are going to start saying you're a genius or you're just naturally gifted, because these tips are backed by strategy, psychology, and a few brutal truths. So if you're serious about taking your academic game to the next level and making 2025 your best academic year to date, make sure that you watch this video until the end. And for those that don't know me, my name is Blessing, and I have an accounting degree from the best university in Africa. So make sure that you stick around until the end, because I've been a top achiever myself throughout my academic journey. So tip number 1, I want you to redesign your identity. Most students, when the academic year starts, they motivated, they ready to tackle the year until they start dealing with that difficult subject or course, or they write their first test and then they fail, or they don't perform as well as they expected, and then now they start moving with the belief that a specific subject or course is difficult, or they're just not good enough, and that's you moving with a limiting belief. So what I want you to do, I want you to shift from a limiting mindset to a growth mindset and say, as much as this subject or course is difficult, but it's an interesting challenge that I'm willing to solve, and if I'm able to solve this challenge, I'll be among the top 1% in my class, because everyone else is busy complaining and saying this specific course or subject is difficult. So I want you to shift your mindset, and the way you do that, I want you to go back to previous term, which is term 1, and reflect, right, and say, what did I do wrong and what did I do right? And no excuses. I want you to just be brutally honest with yourself, right? Because this will help you to improve your grades in this coming term. So ask yourself, what habits kept me stuck and what habits worked for me? You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So if you're brutally honest with yourself and identify those things that were keeping you stuck in the previous term, then it will be easier for you to build systems that are going to carry you throughout the year. So one thing I can encourage you to do right after watching this video is take a journal and write down one thing that you did last term that you don't want to repeat. So if you know what you're dealing with, it will be easier for you to build systems that are going to help you tackle that problem. So make sure that you redesign your identity. You're good enough to tackle that challenging course or that challenging subject. See it as an interesting challenge that you're willing to solve. So tip number 2, I want you to curate your feed, because your digital environment relates to your mental environment. So for example, you can't be watching videos of those successful billionaires that keep on saying a school is a scam if you want to do well in school. So you have to curate your feed so that it caters for your current goals, which is one mistake I used to do as well. Watch these billionaires who talk about how school is a scam, and you end up hating school and not doing well in school, because it's what you feed in your mind, and then your mind is starting to resist studying, is starting to resist anything that's school related. So make sure that you watch content that builds you, that motivates you for your goals. So curate your feed. Make sure that you start engaging more with your study talks, your study YouTube videos, study tips, so that you get the motivation to keep going, because social media is not the enemy, but your feed is the enemy. According to a 2022 study from the American Psychological Association, 62% of students felt motivated after following educational and productivity creators. So make sure that you curate your feed so that it motivates you. Make sure that you subscribe to this channel, you turn on the notification bell, so that you can also get that motivation to tackle that hard assignment that you are putting in your back pocket, or get the motivation to tackle that difficult course you are struggling with since the year started. So tip number 3, I want you to audit and limit time wasters, because your brain can't simply compete with engineers who design all these apps for addiction. So make sure that you go to your screen time, look for the apps that you waste most of your time using, and make sure that you put measures in place so that they don't waste your time anymore. So 2 things you can do: you can either delete the apps completely, or you can set time limits for those apps so that they stop wasting your time. Discipline is easier when the environment supports it. Number 4, I want you to study when you don't have to, because panic is simply a symptom of neglect. So even if you study 30 minutes outside of class, that gives you breathing room for later when exam season or test season approaches. And according to the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve, students who review material within 24 hours retain up to 80% more. Make it your daily goal that each and every day after class, after those lectures, you review the material or the topics that you did that day in class, so that you're able to retain that information better. And tip number 5 is you simply need an accountability partner, because at this point you don't need motivation, you need someone watching over you. So make sure that you pick an accountability partner, and the more of you guys are, the better, because it's easier for you guys to hold each other accountable. But if it's only one person, it's easier for you guys to lie to each other and be like, today we don't feel like working, right? But if it's like 3 to 4 people, if 2 people don't feel like working and the other 2 are motivated, they're going to make sure that they push this other 2 so that they can go work as well. But if it's only 2 people, it's easier for you guys to lie to each other. So make sure that you pick a group of 3 to 4 people and have daily check-ins whereby you basically discuss what did you do for the day, how did it go, and even weekly check-ins whereby, okay, cool, how was the week, what did I do wrong, what am I going to do better going forward. And this will help you stay disciplined even if you don't have that motivation. Tip number 6, I want you to maximize class time so that you don't need to relearn the same thing later, because if you learn it properly once, you don't need to waste 3 hours relearning it later. What I advise you to do is be present in class, ask questions, focus on understanding instead of just taking notes, because I've seen a lot of students, they go to class, they just focus on taking notes, copying whatever the lecture is saying or whatever is in the slides, and when they go back home, they have to sit down and try to relearn the content on their own, because in class they didn't focus on understanding, they just focused on taking notes. So make sure that you're present, you're asking questions, and make sure that you strive to understand all the things that the lecture is saying. Learn deeply once and revise lightly later. And tip number 6, I want you to use systems and not willpower. 2 systems you can start using today is number 1, daily to-do list. So what I usually do is every day in the morning or the day before, I ask myself, what are the 3 things that I need to get done today? I want you to apply the 80-20 rule, which basically says there are usually 20% of the tasks that bring 80% of the results. So once you focus on that 20%, you'll be able to get 80% of the results, rather than focusing on the 80% of the tasks that only bring 20% of the results. So ask yourself each and every day in the morning, what are 3 high value tasks that I need to complete today, and write them down as a to-do list. And throughout the day, you make sure that you don't rest until you've ticked off all those 3 tasks. And the second system you can use is time blocking. Basically open your Google Calendar or your Outlook calendar and you block out your time for the entire week. This will give you an idea of how much time you have and will also make you feel in control of your time. And the last tip, which is my personal favorite, is stop overthinking and start timing, because overthinking is just procrastination wearing a fake productivity costume. I always say this, most students, the reason why they procrastinate is because they fall into the planning trap, whereby they sit and ask themselves, what should I do now? And because they have a lot of things to do, they start analyzing them in their head, asking themselves, which one is important, which one should I start with? And because our brain is wired to choose the easiest task, they usually default to the easiest thing that they can do, which is picking up their phone and saying, let me scroll on social media for the next 5 or 10 minutes, and then after that I'll start tackling whatever task that I'll need to tackle. And this is why most students procrastinate. So to beat that, you must stop overthinking and execute. So ask yourself, what are the tasks that I need to do? And the first thing that pops to mind, ask yourself, that first task, how long is it going to take me to do that task? Is it 45 minutes, an hour, or 2 hours? And stand up, sit on a desk and set a timer for the time required to complete that task and start working. And don't stop until you finish the task or the timer goes off. And after, you can reward yourself by maybe taking a walk or maybe scrolling on social media. Remember, your social media now is curated. You're only seeing study talk videos, study motivation videos. And after 5 minutes of watching those study motivation videos, you're motivated, go back to studying. Ask yourself, what should I do now? The first task that comes to mind, ask yourself, how long is it gonna take me? Sit on your desk, set the timer, start working until you finish the task or the timer goes off. And once you start doing this, you'll start executing and you realize that this one hack, it kills perfectionism and procrastination in one go. So if you want to take your academic game to the next level in 2025, make sure that you apply all the tips that I shared here. Rely on systems, not your willpower and motivation. So make sure that you drop a comment down below and tell me what's one system that you're going to start applying today. Make sure that you like this video, you subscribe so that you join the community, and let's grow together and be top performing students together. Cheers.